I just told Chris Demm, this is the exciting part. This is where you don't know where the road is going to take you, you know? This part. This is the most exciting part of the week, right here. We're diving into it. I also told him I wanted to share something with Biggie. And by the way, let's go ahead and update. Let's do it early today. Biggie is now here 26 days in a row. This man is in here fighting away. I love it. And
people keep saying, I'm glad you're better. And I'm going, I never said that.
Never has said he's better.
I just need a paycheck.
Well, you grind. You grind.
You have no choice in America.
I love that. You have no choice in America. What are you going to do? Lay at home? You could.
Well, I got to have a place to live. That requires rent money.
Funny. New study out. 4-year study. We like working from home better than we do going into the office.
That needed a 4-year study.
Surprising. Somewhat surprisingly. We prefer laying around at home to getting dressed and coming into the office.
Those jobs are going away, though.
Yeah, they're making you come back into the office.
It's funny because I'm part of a neighborhood group, and I'd say twice a day somebody's in there going, does anyone have a job I can work from home? Work from home job. You know, during COVID, of course, they popped off, and now it's not that way anymore.
People making you come back. And do you think the reason is because at least the bosses think that you're more productive when you come into the office?
Absolutely.
Which has always been my mindset. I don't know if the studies really agree with that.
Did you harump as you read the story, Kelly?
100%. 100%. I was all for like bringing people back. We never left. I was all for bringing people back. And I harump all the way through that. I don't care for change. You know, I'm not a person who enjoys change.
Or modern trends or people being happy.
Fact.
Yeah.
You got me on that one.
Yeah. You despise happiness in others more than most.
Very true.
I mean, if you were, it's not going to make your tombstone. You know, here lies Chris Kelly, decent radio host. Really hated when other people were happy.
Yeah.
Truly hated it.
I know. 100% true. And in fact,
somebody likes a Marvel movie. Ew.
In fact,
Dungeons and Dragons, Game of Thrones. Hate them.
Yeah.
Tattoos.
You
gross.
Despise missing days so much that even when I'm in the hospital, you think of it as, they ain't at work.
That's right.
I'm laying in a hospital bed and you're like, somebody got a few days off, I see.
Exactly. I don't know. Yeah.
I think it's just how you're wired.
Guilty's charged. Okay. I don't care for other people's joy or
anything
at all.
No.
It's the truth. Once again, and this is what I wanted to talk with you about. A couple of things for you today. I've had you in mind all weekend.
Well, that's weird.
He recommended something to me that I wanted to hate watch, and my wife said, let's go ahead and watch this thing Biggie recommended. Now, it cost us almost $7. It was a rental. It was a rental.
A one-time deal?
One-timer. It was this thing on the Press Your Luck contestant. And I used to watch the game show Press Your Luck 40 years ago. This happened 40 years ago, which really, golly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think of it, like at that time in 1984 or 85, if you'd said this happened 40 years ago in the 40s, it would be like, wow, that was ancient.
That's D-Day.
Right. Literally. However, when you say, I remember this like it was yesterday. I remember watching this show when this guy was on it. If you don't know the backstory, there was this guy who went on to Press Your Luck, the game show, hosted by Peter Tamarkin, which just had a grid.
A seemingly random pattern.
Correct. And it was
of flashing lights.
Bounced all around, and you called stop, and if you hit a whammy, you lost all your money. But if you landed on $5,000, you got $5,000 and another spin, and it, this one guy figured out the random patterns.
Was it just spinning or was there trivia involved?
Trivia first, but fairly easy trivia. The way it worked was they would say something like, here's one from that particular game. They would say, at what age does the average person develop crow's feet around their eyes? And somebody would ring in and say 40. And if you're right, you get 3 spins. But if you don't ring in, you get multiple choice, and if you get it right then, you get 1 spin. And they were easy enough where everybody did accumulate spins. I mean, then they went to the game, they had 2 rounds of that, and the second round was where the money got really big. And that's when this guy in 1984 or 5 won $160,000. Now, generally, the winner walked away with $15,000, something like that. But this guy had figured out the pattern. You know, he figured out the pattern.
I looked it up. In today's money, it'd be like $340,000.
That seems about right. I figured. Okay. So I went into it. My wife said, "Should we rent this thing?" And I was like, "Biggie recommended it."
Biggie did.
What's the? You know, I was like, "Let's."
She brought it to you. Your wife did.
She did. She's like, "Man, this might be interesting," because we both watched the show when we were kids.
And this is a scripted version of the story.
Yes. And I had seen on Game Show Network a very well done documentary on it about 3 years ago, and learned way more about this guy who had just obsessed with this game, Press Your Luck, which is still on, by the way, Press Your Luck is still on Game Show Network today. Now they have a million patterns. You know, it's completely random. But then they had 5 patterns, and the guy memorized them so he could stop it just in time to win the money. Yeah, and as I watched it, I mean, I hate watched it for Biggie, and I thought it was pretty good. I think the guy who played the winner, the man who figured out the pattern, was fantastic. I mean, he's really good at it.
His name is Paul Walter Hauser.
Very good.
And he has basically picked the niche in Hollywood of just kind of being the just blah looking dude. I mean, his roles he's played have always been that kind of down on your luck, chunky. He was the Atlanta bombing suspect.
Yeah,
that was a really good
Richard
movie.
Jewell.
Yeah.
Was he the one in I, Tonya?
Yes.
One of the bumbling guys who whacked Nancy Kerrigan in the knee?
Plays it great.
He is a phenomenal actor, and his roles are just always these kind of bumbling types.
If you need like chunky mid-'80s, early '90s bumbling fool, this guy is perfect.
And he's perfect, and he's busy as can be. He's in so many movies now.
Here's my question for Biggie. Chris Demm hasn't seen it.
What's the title of the film?
Luckiest Man in the World. And because I think on at the end of it they put up there he's the luckiest man in the world because he hits over and over and over again. Well, I just always wonder how real this is, because in the movie they show behind the scenes stuff like the people in the back just going crazy that, you know, he's winning all this money, show staffers. And one guy who's in charge, like, let him on the show, whereas the other guy who's normally in charge of picking the contestants said, this guy's bad news, you know, this guy's bad. And the other guy goes, I know what I'm talking about. Put him in there, you know, let's get him. And at one point, like during the filming, the winner goes out into the parking lot and he's running around and chased back on. I just think, I'll bet that none of that happened. I think they have to exaggerate all of that. I think he just sat there and played the game, and behind the scenes, I'm sure they were like, this guy's got us figured out. You know, what are we supposed to do here? But I don't think there's nearly as much drama behind the scenes as real. They made the host, like Peter Tamarkin, seem dislikable. Like, you need to go out there and tell him he's you know, challenge him and say he shouldn't keep spinning. And I just thought, I'm not buying all that, you know? And I know they have to do it because they're making a movie,
sure.
but it's just like, you know.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was quite. The only thing I do buy is the behind the scenes stuff.
I buy that they were
as far
concerned.
As concerned, yeah, because I know what would happen here if we somehow
started giving away something
and somebody figured it out.
Yeah.
The panic in the upstairs above us and us would be. So that part I believe. I don't believe he was running around. I don't believe there's a little bit of a spoiler, but at one point he's playing for somebody who he screwed over.
Yeah. Well, see, they had like one spin got someone something at home, like the at-home player, you know? And so he had played so long, they made him open the envelope. The bumbler, and say who he was playing for. And they researched him while he was winning and put in a name of somebody that he hated. And it's like,
the producers?
That didn't happen.
Yeah,
that did not happen.
No, I don't think that happened. Now, he was in real life, he was a con artist.
Well, of course.
Yes. You saw the documentary. He ended up blowing the money and everything.
Yeah, I knew all that. But at one point, like, he drove an ice cream truck. And in the movie, he had literally driven the ice cream truck to the CBS studios. And in the middle of him winning all this money, one of the guys behind the scenes goes out to the ice cream truck and breaks into it and finds VHS recordings of the show and like, he's a fraud, you know. And that's when they decide to put the name of the person that had screwed him over in there. And I don't believe any of that. But I got so into it that now I have watched about the first 15 minutes of the actual episode he was on.
Really?
I went on YouTube and Googled his game, and I've watched like the first 10 or 15 minutes. I'm obsessed now with this guy who 40 years ago
Conned America.
Yeah.
And Peter Tomarken.
And Peter Tomarken, who I've always heard was a wonderful man, and they make him out to look a little bit dirty, like, you know, just a little like...
Yeah, he's played kind of as a sleazy game show
guy.
host.
And I don't think that's true of Peter Tomarken. I'm a Tomarken man. All right? I am a Tomarken man. And so when I saw this, I was like, don't you dare disgrace the memory of the late, great Peter Tomarken, who died, by the way, delivering... some sort of charity items for underprivileged children in a plane crash. He was flying to deliver to underprivileged children. And so I'm going to watch this entire episode and report back. But when it was all done, I just thought, to me, they goosed it too much. You know, it's like it couldn't quite stand on its own. You had to create all these different things. It's the same way I felt about the movie Sully when Tom Hanks played it, because they made that movie as if he was under such tremendous pressure and that nobody liked him after he saved everybody on that plane, when in reality, I think he was treated like a hero.
Yeah, I'll never forget the trailer. They show him like acting like he's being grilled one-on-one by the FBI, like, tell us why you landed it.
Yeah, well, because I'm trying to save everybody. And I did. And I did save everybody on
And
board.
I don't think any of that ever happened. I think he was always a hero.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit. I mean, they investigated because it's in TSB. And this, of course, I think a little bit of that happened.
I did a deep dive one time just on when a movie, because basically any movie can say based on a true story.
Right.
Because what made me do it was this movie called The Strangers, which is
Me too.
very
as
creepy
soon as you
movie.
said it, I was like, I'm going to... This is Biggie and I are best friends. I mean,
Chris,
this is
take
why,
the next 5 off.
This is why we're best friends.
This?
Yes, because as soon as he said I did a deep, as soon as you said they can say loosely based, I thought that movie The Strangers.
And that's what made me start to look further into
Titanic.
other
Or the
Titanic.
Wait a minute. Now.
Whoa.
Wait a
What?
minute now. Wait a minute. In my mind, the Titanic is 100% factual.
They were on that boat.
All those happy poor Irishmen doing
That's right.
jigs and reels.
Wait a minute now. Now. Let's not go too far.
Okay.
Let's don't go too far with this. Titanic, that happened.
That happened.
That's
Every
real.
word is gospel.
And that she threw the diamond off and all of those things. Now, let's not go too far.
What I learned was, especially horror movies, love to say based on a true story.
Or based on actual events. That's even more loose.
Actual events. Yeah.
And a lot of times, different horror movies are based on the same event.
Right.
You know,
Right.
There's a lot of exorcism movies out there that are based off the same exorcism.
One exorcism.
But you wouldn't know because it just... So that's kind of what they do, is they
But
throw
that's the story of a movie.
Sure.
Of course,
I get it.
Movies aren't supposed to be fact.
It still
The
sucks
problem
me
is
in.
people conflate movies with fact.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
The thing about this particular thing with Press Your Luck is I just think it was so unbelievable what was going on behind the scenes. That would be my criticism of it. It's like you really didn't quite have enough there for a movie. You should have just left it with the documentary. But I did think that lead actor played it very well.
Yeah.
They had Walton Goggins in it playing Peter Tomarken.
Oh.
Nobody better not say a bad word about Peter Tomarken. Okay, I'm a Peter Tomarken man. And I didn't think he did. I'm a big fan of his, but I didn't think he did a great job. The way they played it, I was like, this isn't quite right.
To me, they got a great actor to not do much.
Exactly. He didn't do much.
Yeah.
It's like Chris Demm in this segment. He don't have to do much.
No.
Because this one is, you know.
Yeah, you two shouting it off the rooftop.
That's right.
A 40-year-old irrelevant show.
Yeah.
This is completely irrelevant in anybody's life. I just, at the end of it, was
What
like.
did your wife think?
Same as me. In fact, with about 30 minutes to go, she was fighting sleep and said, I'm just going to go off to bed here.
Ooh, sorry, Biggs.
And but only because she was sleepy and it was late at night. We argued over whether or not to watch it. First, I was like, do you want to watch it? And she goes, yes.
Biggie likes it.
And I was like, well, Biggie likes it, so forget it. And she's like, fine, I'm not even going to watch it.
And it cost you $7.
$7. This guy's still getting me.
If it were
years.
free, would it have colored your review?
No, I don't think so. I would have had the same review. I'd felt better about it. You know, I do. It's okay, but I just don't think there was quite enough there to really do it. You know,
it's
what
a
I mean?
short movie.
It is.
I will say that
It is.
maybe an hour 25. I think.
I'll tell you, there's a guy in it. This is really getting into it now. What happens is the con artist comes to try out for the show, and the guy who usually picks the contestants is sitting there with the main boss.
Now, he didn't break any laws to get on the show, correct?
No,
He just memorized the show.
Yeah, and in fact, I don't think he's done anything wrong. Remember, he memorized the show. I don't think it's cheating. You know, he was at home and he figured out the pattern, which to me, more power to you. You know,
well, and they kind of at one point get to that point
Yeah,
where they're like,
they did.
he didn't do anything wrong.
when he's first in there looking to be on the show, the guy who normally picks the contestant is in there with the main boss, played by David Strathairn, who's a great actor. So the guy who usually picks the contestants is like, this guy, there's something about him. He's creepo. He's a con artist. Don't put him on. Well, David Strathairn, who's the main boss, goes behind his back and says, I can smell a winner. We're putting this guy on. So he does.
He's the exec producer,
He's the exec
perhaps?
producer, right. So now they're all back there watching it, and the guy's winning tons of money. And the exec producer is like, oh, my God, look what I've done here. Well, the head of the network comes walking in and says, who chose this guy to be on Press Your Luck? And in a massive Chris Kelly move, the executive producer said, Claude over here, did
Yeah.
He goes,
Right here.
He goes, well, Claude's in charge of contestants.
At that point, did the president say, well done, Claude?
No.
Oh, no.
He's
Claude's about to get it.
He's like, Claude's on the.
I thought he was going to say, great job, Claude.
No, Claude's in a different room, and the Chris Kelly has characters. He's asked
The weasel.
Well, the weasel is asked, who put this guy on, and he goes, well, Claude's in charge of doing contestants. And the main boss is like, get Claude in here. This is his last day at CBS. Now, media guy Craig probably knows about this and he's been waiting in the wings here. You have a Press Your Luck factoid for us. Go ahead.
I'm sure it didn't come out in the movie because it would have no bearing on what happened there. But just a strange thing, the whammy was designed by and animated by the director and writer of Better Off Dead, Savage Steve Holland.
Oh, really? So he made up the whammy and figured, because that's become a real part of the culture. People say no whammies, no whammies, no whammy.
I remember being a kid, I'm sure it was old episodes they would show in the afternoon, but the whammy is the first game. That's why I was interested in it. It's the first game show I remember. Press Your Luck. And what I remember, not even as much of the gameplay as the whammy.
Yeah.
No whammy, no whammy, no whammy.
Well, people today,
Was it animated or was it just a photograph?
Well, both. It would first on the board. It would be a photograph. It would be like a little photograph.
Is it a little green monster?
Little
dude?
box. It's a brown.
Oh.
It looks like a little turd, and it's a little brown monster. And they would animate it coming in front of you, like doing a little dance or taking your money and pounding it away. Because as soon as you got the whammy, your money was gone. Thank you, media guy Craig. And if you got 4 whammies, you're out of the game. And that's why you keep pressing or you pass your spins. So they had like a mascot whammy walking around backstage. At one point, the guy's backstage who's winning the game, and the whammy who's in a mascot comes up to him, and it's got this maniacal grin on his face, and the guy's like, "Oh my god!" and he's tormented by the whammy. It's just like, come on.
Yeah, yeah, that was a little.
Hey, man, you're doing great out there.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
You want to do some blow? Meet me at the ice cream truck in 20 minutes after we wrap. It's like a sauna in the suit. You have no idea. I am schwitzing in here.
Yes. I don't think I can give it a recommendation just because of all that extra stuff.
All right.
But I'm going to watch the real game.
Okay.
And we're going to do a week-long series on this. This is
now who's obsessed.
Yeah. I guess that worked.
This is a week. This is where the road takes us this week.
Yeah. What a start.
We're going to be dissecting a 40-year-old single episode of a game show that was not all that popular to begin with. It was on. It was no Price is Right, but it was. In fact, backstage as it's starting, one woman races in. They're like, "You're late," and she goes, "Catastrophe over on Price."
That's where the real stars are.
That's where the action is.
Exactly. And that wasn't even what I was gonna Tell Biggie. I did something so great for Biggie this weekend. He has no idea.
Oh, God.
But we're out of time.
Oh, pity.
What will I have to dress as?
Can you sound like a whammy?
Man,
or drive an ice cream truck?
It was such a good game. That really was a great. Now that I look at it, and nobody says anything bad about Peter Tamarkin around me. If you got a Peter Tamarkin problem, you got a problem with me. Okay.